you are actually having trouble forgiving yourself for something. I'm a person that you can forgive easily, because otherwise we are handing out instructions saying, hey, hold me to an impossible standard. I have been through so much, I have seen so much, I have people from all walks of life, and there's nothing you could tell me that would make me judge you. And if it did, that would be my own reflection, and it would be something within me that I needed to rebalance. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Empowering From Within. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. Today we are going to get really deep in the weeds of anger, forgiveness, self-forgiveness, guilt, all the big names, because as we know, our electromagnetic field, our thoughts, beliefs, actions, feelings, subconscious programs are all shaping the matter around us and handing out instructions to life on how to treat us and who to bring to us and what circumstances we're going to find ourselves in. So whether we have conscious anger or repressed anger, it all just radiates from our energy as anger, which means we will be in resonance with people who are angry or situations and circumstances and events that make us angry until we process it and alchemize it within our own energy, so we no longer become a match to those circumstances or people, or we are no longer triggered or worried about it because we have processed our own emotions. So there are huge wins and gains and benefits to truly addressing the anger in our lives. And I, as everyone knows, was a former subscriber to the pattern of suppressing, shoving down, repressing, and hiding how I truly felt. And I used to not have the tools to truly process my emotions. And if you had asked me 5, 6, 7 years ago if I was angry, I would have said absolutely not. Because I thought it was just such an unflattering emotion I didn't want to admit to, but it was busting out of me sideways, to the point where I would shove down, and then I would just like explode into tears because I was so frustrated with this bubbling anger inside of me. It was very subconscious and suppressed, but nonetheless, it was within my energy. And now I have so many game-changing inner tools to handle any anger that comes up, and I have processed level 10 out of 10 past events that would cause an ordinary, humble human to be filthy, full of rage style anger. So I want to give you some processes, first of all, to go through to help you to neutralize and balance any anger that might be within you. And then some really profound mental shifts that will cultivate such peace and harmony in your life and will help you have so much more compassion and will help you hand out instructions through your EMF that will be resonant with forgiveness and self-compassion and people accepting and choosing exactly who you are, rather than people who cannot accept certain parts of you. And you know, whether it's in career or relationships, the instructions we are handing out when we don't love ourselves and our life means that other people can't love us and choose us to be in their lives. So processing anger and getting out of the frequency of anger has myriad benefits. And the first step to that is to get really real on what you're feeling. As we know, articulating the emotion will stop our brain from chewing on it and create a release valve immediately just by naming it. So that is the first step. And it's hard because we don't have huge emotional vocabularies, but if we can take a minute to just notice the sensations in our bodies, notice that we are triggered, notice that we are snappy or critical or internally judging, then that is our first clue that we probably have anger within us. So what do we do once we realize that we are angry? Well, if there's anger in your field today, there's probably anger in your field a week ago, a month ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that perhaps, unless you have been on a self-development journey for your whole life, has never actually been processed. And I have had some level 10 out of 10 angry situations in my life. Anger often shows up as like heat, burning, tears, and just constriction in the body. So once you are actually able to hit the nail on the head, and articulate the fact that you are feeling angry, the next job is to take time and a sacred space to actually express the anger, not to the person, because as we already know, dumping on other people, nobody else is responsible for how we feel. A person may have made you angry from complete ignorance or from intention, whatever it may be. It is not their responsibility to make you feel okay. If we are relying on our children, our spouse, our colleagues, our family, the lady at the grocery store to make us feel some type of way and to keep rolling out a red carpet to ensure that we feel good, that is the most disempowering way that we can live. It is nobody's responsibility to ensure that we feel good once we are individuated adults, except for ourselves. So if we are saying to everyone, I need every single person that I cross paths with to make me feel okay and to make me feel not angry, then we are giving our power away and putting how we feel in everyone else's hands. But we can take our power back and take our power out of everyone else's hands and take radical responsibility for our own feelings and our own anger and start to have a completely empowered relationship with our life and the people in our lives. So once we recognize that we have anger, we need to express it without dumping it on someone else and without spraying it on everyone around us, because that is a very obviously low frequency way to live. We don't want to bring other people's frequencies down because we are angry. We don't want to offload that energy onto our loved ones. We want to be able to process and alchemize it ourselves. So the best thing that I do is to find a private space and dump it out. We need to complete the cycle on the emotion. So you can scream, you can rage, you can cry in your car, in the shower, in your bedroom, wherever is like a private, sacred, dignified place for you to get this energy out and fully express it. Just like animals in the wild, when they escape near death or go through something stressful, they literally shake it out and get that energy out of their body, so they're not living their lives dragging around these heavy emotions and becoming unwell and having drama in their lives. They literally just shake it out and move on. So that is part of us as also being animals. We need to express the energy out of our bodies. So you can do that any which way you like. You can dump it into a voice note, write an angry letter, an essay, whatever it is, and then burn it or delete it. But just get out the vitriol, the rage, and express the anger out of your system so that you no longer feel like you are this mounting balloon of pressure. You've released the valve and all the angry energy is out. Now, once you have done that, there are different energetic practices I can help you with in a private session to clear the energy and transmute the energy depending on the circumstances. But once you have shifted and expressed it and you have connected your spinning brain to your body, so your body knows, oh, this is anger, and your mind can stop chewing on it because you've articulated it, you've made sense of it, you've expressed it, then you can start to shift your perceptions back into balance. Because as we know, everything in the universe has an equal amount of positive and negative, from atoms to world events to people to puppy dogs. Every single thing is in balance at all times, or else the world would literally combust and fall off its axis. So we need to then neutralize our imbalanced perception that this thing is entirely awful and unfair and unjust and horrendous and angry making, right? So we can do it with someone else. For example, let's say someone's sitting in a coffee shop and someone walks in and steals their purse. That person may leave the coffee shop feeling really angry. Someone else could make it mean something else, but we're doing anger today. So we can see that if we had the most vast perspective and we were truly trying to find the perfect negatives and positives and remain in balance about that situation, well, perhaps the person who stole the wallet is going to feed their starving children. Perhaps the lady whose wallet and purse was stolen was pretty distracted in life, and this was the wake-up call that she needed to become more mindful and to take better care of her possessions and to feel a slight more sense of vigilance around her possessions. And it actually prevented her from having something much, much, much more irreplaceable stolen in 2 months' time, because she suddenly now has a more heightened awareness of her possessions. Perhaps the person who stole the wallet, that was the impetus to turn their life around. They had such terrible guilt that they then decided to pave a way in their life that was no longer reliant on crime and stealing. We don't know, but we can get really creative and we can get really high frequency by taking more time and perspective to balance these emotions, because nothing is entirely negative and nothing is entirely positive. We are trained and conditioned as children to think of people as wrong and places as wrong and behavior as wrong and entirely bad. But the truth is, everything is in balance. If we have the most helicopter high conscious view, life and circumstances and people are always in balance. Now, it's easier to do it from the outside looking into someone else's life. When we have to do it for ourselves, it can be harder because we are super emotional. And I have had circumstances in my life that have made me deeply angry. One of them that has been my hardest has been betrayal by a family member. And I carried a lot of unconscious, subconscious anger around stuff that went down in my family of origin for literal years. And it wasn't until I had all these tools that I could express it and then get it back into balance. And the easiest way to get things back into balance is to see the gifts, the skills, the abilities, and the growth that came out of any difficult circumstance, because then you start embodying those skills and capabilities. We've already gone through this on the Every Challenge is an Upgrade podcast, but if we don't see what we gained by going through something difficult, we will be in a permanent state of imbalance and a permanent state of loss, and we will constantly draw more and more and louder circumstances into our lives to say, the world is against me, everything is difficult, whatever belief you are taking from whatever has gone down in your life will keep getting reflected back to you. But if we are in a state of saying, I understand what happened, I am grateful for the skills, tools, and capabilities it gave me, I love the person I am today because of that event, then we are going to start to hand out instructions and have the energy of someone who loves their life, who knows that people have the best intentions, or whatever it might be that you're trying to flip on its head. So for me, I wrote down every single difficult thing that betrayal gave me and made me feel. And next to each difficult feeling, I wrote down 3 incredible capabilities, skills, and valuable gifts that it gave me that I treasure today to get back into balance. And the truth is that, what is betrayal? It is lying, and it is a lack of trust. Well, I now know in my literal cells what truth feels like in the body, what something that is not truthful feels like in the body. I have deep discernment about people, and I have incredible spidey senses because of everything that I have been through in a betrayal sense. So I have neutralized this now, and I am no longer drawing betrayal, mistrust, lying into my life, because I shifted my energy and perception around it and got back into balance. Now, if you want to take this self-development work to the pro elite level, the next step, once you are neutral, once you've got all the charge out of your system and you've expressed until there's no air in that balloon and you have truly completed the cycle, got the energy out of your system and got into a state of balance about the event, the next thing you can do, which is tough, but it is so worth it, is to own the quality that you hate in the person who made you angry within yourself. Because the truth is, we all possess every quality, negative, positive, we are all in perfect balance. We are all murderers. Like, I have stepped on ants before. We are all geniuses. We are all really dozy. We have all sides of the coin. And usually when we are really triggered by someone, it is because we dislike and cannot accept the quality that this person is portraying as a quality that we actually possess. and we can't admit to, and we are very, very triggered and charged around the quality within the other person because we disown it in ourselves. And you might be saying, well, Phoebe, I am not someone who betrays people. Well, yes, but do you betray yourself? Because I can tell you, as a former people pleaser, that the qualities of betrayal, like lying, lack of trust, not being honest, are qualities that I used to inhabit and display all the time as a people pleaser because I did not have the self-worth to express my true feelings. So I was constantly betraying myself and betraying my own feelings and not being completely truthful about how I feel in order to maintain connection, and because I didn't have the confidence and the self-worth to actually speak my truth. Even in the hairdresser last week, when I was at the basin with the spray thing, and I was asked point blank, is this temperature okay? I found it so difficult to actually be truthful and say it's kind of hot and it's burning my scalp, because I wanted to maintain the connection. I love my hairdresser. I wanted to maintain that connection. I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. But guess what that does? It betrays myself. It throws myself under the bus. It is dishonest about actually what's going down in my experience. And I literally used to do this constantly to myself, where I would throw myself under the bus, betray my own feelings, not be truthful, in order to make everyone around me feel comfortable. I'm sure there are people pleasers across the world who can relate to swallowing your own discomfort in order to make everyone around you feel comfortable. But that is self-betrayal over and over and over again. And that is going to only draw people to you who are dishonest and willing to betray you, because that's what you do to yourself. And that is the energy that you are marinating in constantly. So you are at resonance with other people who will do that to you, because you're handing out instructions saying, hey, I'm a person whose feelings don't really matter. I'm a person who is not particularly honest about how they feel. I am a person who will literally throw myself under the bus to make you feel okay. So that is what shows up in your life. And once I could own that actually I can be dishonest and I cannot value myself enough to speak up, and I betray myself and self-abandon constantly for my own myriad, experiences and trauma and blah-de-blah, I could suddenly have so much more compassion for myself, because I could see that I wasn't doing this with a malintent. It was just an erroneous coping strategy in order to maintain connection. It was not coming from a horrible place. And I could own that part within me that betrays myself and ultimately betrays other people, because you're not being genuine to yourself and you're not really being honest. And then it helps so much to take the charge out of it. And I am no longer triggered by people who betray or lie or are not trustworthy, because I can see that there's just something they're hiding from their own lack and self-image and self-love wounds, because I now own it in myself. So if you are willing to take ownership of the quality that you dislike so much and see where you do it yourself, not only will it take the charge out of the situation, but it makes you a better person, because you can suddenly start to catch when you're doing this and be a more genuine, authentic person, knowing that you are only responsible for your own feelings. And being more genuine and authentic and telling my hairdresser that that temperature is actually kind of burning my scalp only made us more connected. And if she had had discomfort around that honesty, that actually would have been an issue for her. That actually would have been her own projection. So once we can see that we're just in this giant hall of mirrors with everyone projecting their own disowned, unaccepted, unflattering parts of themselves, we can start to see things in such better balance and become so much less emotional about it. Now, the other thing about anger, if you are finding it really, 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 really hard to forgive someone, then it is most likely, as we know, as within, so without, we live in an inside out world. Everything is backwards. Everyone is just reflecting to us. Life is a mirror and reflecting to us our own imbalances. And if you are finding it hard to forgive someone, I can have a pretty good guess that you are actually having trouble forgiving yourself for something. And I can attest to this because I have been so angry at myself before. And when you're angry at yourself, you tend to carry around this weight of guilt in your stomach because you feel guilty for not living up to your impossible standards. And I've experienced this as a mother because I love my children so incredibly much. And I truly want to be the greatest mum of all time. But being the greatest mum of all time means you actually have to work on your own stuff, right? It doesn't mean that you have your hands in your kids' lives, making sure that everything is going their way. It actually means being resourced and self-accepting and healing all the stuff that I've picked up in my own childhood and my own life, and not projecting or spilling that onto them, and feeling so internally resourced and full of worth and love that you are able to then spill that over onto your children. And that is truly the measure of a great mum. But one thing that I have found really makes me angry is seeing these people online with giant platforms speaking poorly of their kids, or humiliating their kids, or acting as if their kids are a burden, because I know the impact that's going to have on their children, these perfect little innocent beings, and the energy that they are going to be soaking in. They're going to then hand out instructions to life saying, I'm a burden, I am a fool, you are welcome to humiliate me, because that's how their parents are treating them. And it makes me so angry. And once I did this process with my anger of what I judged as bad parents online, I started to own where I was myself a bad parent. And I started to see that actually I'm angry at myself because I hold myself to a truly impeccable, flawless mum perspective. And so anything that goes wrong in my kids' lives, I truly take to heart, and I try and see my part in it and how I could have prevented it or whatever it is. And I self-flagellate and self-blame about everything in my kids' lives. And I hate the part of me that is not the most epic parent of all time. And once I started to see that, then I needed to bring online better tools for self-forgiveness, because I was actually angry at myself for all the ways that I had fallen short of being the greatest, most epic mum, because that is truly my number one goal in life. And I hold motherhood so dearly. You know, I was not meant to have life. I survived this terrible near-death experience, and it is not lost on me that I now have these two incredible children, and I've created new life. And I just find that my children are so unconditionally lovable, and any time that they are struggling, which is crazy because we can't, nobody has a life free of struggle, I really have been known to turn it on myself and get really angry at myself, and any way that I could have said something better, supported them better, protected them better, whatever it is. So what I have found for taking anger at ourselves to the next level and eradicating this burdensome guilt in our lives, which only drags us down and keeps us in survival emotions and actually keeps us from being great, excellent, resourced parents in a higher frequency and with a higher consciousness and with more of our brain online, because we're not constantly panicked and in survival emotions, is to truly self-forgive at the deepest level. And when we're angry at ourselves, once we bring that into the conscious mind, the greatest thing we can do is to go back to the events that we are angry about and to add more context, add more details, because often we are holding our past selves to a standard of knowledge and behavior and change and growth that we have today, but we did not have back then. So we are in this circular, erroneous logic to hold our past selves accountable for something that we did not know. So we were entirely innocent and ignorant at the time of making whatever mistake or poor decision or whatever it might be at that previous time. But often going through that mistake was the only way to gather the skills and knowledge we needed in order to do a better job today. So we are holding our 20 and 30-year-old self to a standard that we have today, but we didn't have back then. And so once you can add the context and add more details to see that we were operating on a different level of knowledge, and to go through the mistake or the pitfall was the only way to gain the knowledge that we had. If we want to be the greatest parent of all time, well, we're going to be tested. It's like being a surgeon. If you want to be a surgeon, you don't go in day one with a scalpel and know exactly how to skillfully slice and dice a body. That is an earned skill. It is an earned mastery. And in order to become the greatest mom of all time, which is the title I'm going for, I need to earn the right to the skills and the capabilities and the knowledge by going through the ringer and by going through tests and making mistakes and changing and growing to do it better next time. And that is the entire point of life. That is success in life, when we are changing and growing and doing better and rising to challenges with new skills and new adaptations. If I look back at my 20-year-old self, 30-year-old self, and I'm still doing things the same way and not doing any self-reflection, then yes, that would be a genuine failure, a mistake. But if I am looking back at my innocence and my ignorance and the fact that I was truly doing my best with the skills and knowledge I had at that time, then there is a level of forgiveness that is able to come online because we can see ourselves in the full context of what was happening. So self-forgiveness comes down to truly and honestly reviewing our past self and past mistakes and gaining and embodying this new knowledge and skills so that we are doing it better next time. And that to me is success. And not carrying around guilt and self-anger and actually forgiving ourselves and seeing ourselves in the full context of our own innocence and ignorance and growth and change means that we get to hand out new instructions through our electromagnetic field that says, I am a person who is unconditionally lovable. I'm a person that you can accept all parts of me. I'm a person that you can forgive easily, because otherwise we are handing out instructions saying, hey, hold me to an impossible standard. Don't let anything go. Please hold everything in my past over my head, because that's how we're treating ourselves. And whatever we do to ourselves and whatever is in our own energy will be reflected back to us. So the benefits of doing this work to forgive others and forgive ourselves is beyond measure, and it is truly life-changing. And it means that you are no longer burdened and weighed down by these very, very difficult, cruel thoughts that we have about ourselves and about others. So the tools today are to articulate when you have anger, whether it is at someone else or yourself, when you have guilt, to express it and complete the cycle and dump it out. Then to rebalance and to see the balance in the situation, the gifts, the capabilities, the skills, the growth that you got from going through whatever you have gone through in your life, and then to own and take full ownership of whatever qualities are triggering you about other people. Own those within yourself. And I can tell you, the internal peace and the harmony in your relationships and the way that you see and treat yourself will be so profoundly improved. And you will no longer feel this burden of heaviness and be really reactive and easily triggered, because you have the skills and tools and reps under your belt to process some of the more difficult things in life. And another thing that is really, really powerful, and I have also done this with a mentor, and if anybody needs support, I'm obviously always here to help you process your level 10s, because the things that we hold in isolation are like bacteria in a petri dish just proliferating in darkness. We need to bring these things out into the light, and shame will cause things that we have done or experienced to fester and grow and get louder and more difficult in our own energy and in our own minds and hearts and souls and spirits. So if you need support, please know that my mentorship is a judgment-free zone. I have been through so much, I have seen so much, I have people from all walks of life, and there's nothing you could tell me that would make me judge you. And if it did, that would be my own reflection, and it would be something within me that I needed to rebalance. So I know, as someone who mentors people, that one of the most difficult things about turning up to mentorship is actually saying the deepest, darkest, hardest things about us to someone else. But I can tell you that not only are my sessions completely private and judgment-free, but allowing these things to come out into the sunlight and the light of day with someone who does this work and who has the most high frequency, high conscious tools in order to transmute whatever is on your heart is such a profound game changer. And I would never want anyone to feel like they were going through something that they couldn't ever share, even with a mentor in a private, safe container. So please know that I have seen it all, I've done it all, and all my mentorship spots are completely judgment-free. And often the most difficult things we go through, we make it mean something about us, and our self-worth just goes absolutely to the bottom of the trash bag, because we're like, well, if we can go through something like that, then we must be so not valuable. Or if we can do something like that, then we must be such a piece of trash. But it is not true. We are out of balance when we are thinking that way. And we are all the most unconditionally lovable, forgivable, excellent human beings. And if we don't do this work, then we can never actually get on with our purpose in life, because we're going to be constantly hiding parts of ourselves and not accepting parts of ourselves and triggered, and we will never actually reach our greatest potential in this life. I know with all of my heart that everyone in this world is here to serve a unique purpose and has a deep purpose and passion in life. And if we are not healing all the stuff that we've been through and that we've experienced and that we feel as though we have done that is not in balance, then we cannot serve that greater good and we cannot be in our purpose. So if you are ready to step up to the plate and own all your crap and heal all your crap, then I am your girl. Head to my website, hit me up on Feedgram, whatever feels good for you. And I am sending you forgiveness, self-love, self-image healing, all the best vibes this week.
Thank you so much for being here today. If you want to keep hanging out, because I sure do, then head to my Instagram @Phoebesgram or my website, phoebestewart.com.